Welcome, everyone, to episode 82 of the Phoenix Report. I am Jack Connor, and this is a guy I've wanted to have on my show for a while now. He and I met many, many years ago. This is one of those guys I would consider a musician's musician. I'll give you a little bit of a backstory. A bunch of years ago, when I was living in Tampa and St. Pete, I was in a rock band called Zebrageist. And we met our guest today when he came in audition for the lead guitar spot that was vacant at the time. I got to talking, and I was kind of aware of him through social media, but we had gotten to talking, and really great guy. Didn't end up joining the band, but the band didn't really last much longer than that anyway. So it's not like he missed much. But yeah, I've been following this guy's career for quite a bit. Not only is he a great guitar player, but he can play keyboards, and he is just a monster vocalist. I've heard this guy. He's got that really high, powerful tenor range. Very, very much in like power metal and progressive metal. This guy can do it all, basically. So, I've wanted to have this guy on for a while, and, I'm really glad to have him on. He's been in so many bands over the years. I'm looking at, I remember Psyaxis as being one. He was a Three-Headed Snake, The Mourning, Aionios. I don't know if I'm even saying that right. But,
yeah, it's Aionios.
Yeah.
Nobody pronounces that one right.
No, that's fine. I believe the Escapement is
Escapement is another project that I've got going on. Yes.
Gotcha. As well as Out of Our Element, which is a really cool YouTube video project that he's been putting on, and we can definitely get into that a little bit. But this guy is a multi-instrumentalist, vocal coach, all-around musician. I know he's had a hell of a career in the Tampa Bay, St. Pete area, and so I'm just going to get him on here. Please welcome Johnny Ray.
Hey, thanks for having me,
John. It's so good to have you on, and like I said, we met, I want to say in 2010, I believe it was, when you were jamming with Zebrageist, and I remember we were talking, and you mentioned that I've got this thing with I've got this side project with Marco Miniman. For those of you who don't know, Marco Miniman is a very famous drummer from, is he German? I forget where he's from.
Yeah, he's German. Mm-hmm.
But he's been in a lot of progressive, rock bands over the years. I know he tried out for Dream Theater at one point. Yeah, so I was like,
he's played with Joe Satriani, Necrophagist.
Mm-hmm.
He plays with Guthrie Govan in The Aristocrats. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I mean, between that and I remember talking to one point, it's like you were saying something about, my buddy Todd, this and that, and I'm like, oh, that's Todd LaTorre, who's the lead singer of Queensryche, and has been the lead singer of Queensryche for many years now. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, all right, this guy's been around quite a bit. He knows a few people, and I wanted to have you on really to talk about your career, because I know you've been doing your thing for a while. You've really had a prolific career over the years, not just in Tampa and St. Pete. I think you've done some touring here and there.
Yeah, touring. 2019, right before COVID hit, I played our debut show with Three-Headed Snake at Bloodstock in UK.
No kidding.
Mm-hmm.
How did that come about? So Three-Headed Snake, that was a band. I don't know if you're still in that band or not.
I am. Yes.
So what's the story there? Are all these guys local to your area, or are they from over there?
No. So I got this wild idea. After things were kind of going south in Aionios, I got this wild idea to just make a cover video. I did a cover video of a Symphony X song called Inferno, mm-hmm. and I posted it in Craigslist all over the country. And I just said I'm looking for a touring band, professional band with some bigger opportunities. And I got hit up by this guy named Sin Quirin. And Sin Quirin at the time was the guitar player for Ministry.
Okay.
And Revolting Cocks and Society One. And so he hit me up and he's like, hey man, I heard your vocals. I like them a lot. I have a few tracks for a side project I'm working on, and I'd like to see what you can do with them. So I was like, waking up in the morning, reading this email. I'm like, wait a second, ministry? Like the ministry that I remember from when I was 10? I'm like, okay, that's interesting. So, because I did get a lot of emails that, a lot of them were like, nothing I'd want to do. But this one, I was like, hell yeah. So he sent me the songs, and I literally had all three of them finished within 2 or 3 days, and sent them back, and then it's just ever since. So that was back in 2016, and ever since we've been together. Started just he and I, but then we have Derek Abrams, who was also the drummer for Ministry. We have Dan McNay on bass. Now, currently, we lost our bass player last year. He passed away.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, thank you. He was from Society One. His name was Dirt. And then we have Dan McNay, who's, oh man, he's got such a resume. I can't remember the name of the guitar players that he played with because they're from like an era before me. But he's got like a pedigree effect here. I'll read it to you.
So these are guys from all over the place.
Jack Russell's Great White.
Okay.
Frank Hannon, Tesla.
Yeah.
Ronnie Montrose, like that's our bass player.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So so that's what it ended up being at this point. But it started out with just he and I, with Sin and I, and we wrote a bunch of music, and we put out a 3-song demo in 2018, and we're getting ready to finish our full-length album. So we'll be releasing that probably, I would imagine, late 2022. And we plan on doing some touring and doing some stuff in 2022. So it's going to be pretty cool.
That's awesome, man. And like your first ever show is at this big festival in the UK. That's incredible.
Dude, that was insane. It was insane. We flew, well, I'll tell you the story. I had to fly to LA. We had never played a song together before. It's always been just an internet project.
Right, right.
So we got together and we rehearsed for the first time 3 days, got everything down, flew to LA flew to UK the next day. Mm-hmm. We had 1 day off in between where we just chilled. We played the show, and midnight that night, we flew back home.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot of traveling.
It was a wild ride. Yeah.
I'll bet. Because I know you had done something like that, as far as recording the vocals for this project. Do you have a studio at home?
Yeah.
Very cool.
I just have like a small room with some foam on the walls and whatnot. And
nice.
A little SM7B and, little modest setup. I use Logic Pro X, and that's what I do.
Very nice. I wish I had some space in my house where I could do stuff like that. It's just being overrun by 2 little girls right now.
You don't even have a closet, huh?
Well, I probably could swing that if I needed to, but that's
swing a closet.
Wouldn't be the first time. Anyway, but yeah, so let's go back for a little bit. I see on your social media profile that you went to Berkeley.
Yeah, actually, last year I did 3 because with the shutdown and everything, I was like, man, I just need to do something, So last year in January, I decided to just go for a vocals professional course. So that was three separate courses. I did one in R&B style, one in pop rock style, and one in jazz.
Oh wow!
So
with Berkeley, I know it's such a I know they have so much demand. Did you have to audition first for that?
No,
and be selected.
This was like an online thing. Well, I don't think you have to audition to actually go to Berkeley. I think you have to audition to get to actually get like a scholarship.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't think. Maybe you can't like suck to go to Berkeley. I guess I don't know.
Yeah. I'm sure they have some. Most people don't just go to Berkeley just for the heck of it. But it's I always figured it was like sort of an exclusive thing like that. But still, I mean, that's really good. That's top of the line. There's a
Hmm.
pedigree towards that.
Oh yeah, I did that because of my vocal coaching. I wanted to. I have a long history with the old school. I trained with an opera maestro, and I did trained with him for 10 years. But it's very old school, and there's not a lot of terminology, like the modern terminology and whatnot.
Hmm.
It's very simple, and I wanted to have the college education too, with the college terminology and stuff, so I could better help my students and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, plus it's an added credential. But so I mean, so let's go a little farther back, if you don't mind. I assume you've been singing for a long time now. How old were you when you got started? When you started really getting into music? You mentioned that you had that sort of training. How old were you when you kind of started everything, like seriously?
Like seriously, I started really going after it when I was in my early 20s, like 23, 24. I tried my luck with some bands back when I was like 19. I auditioned for some bands as a vocalist, and I wasn't good enough. Um,
I've been there.
and and had to keep working at it. But around age 23, 24, I actually started in a like kind of a death metal band
Really?
as a screamer,
Okay.
and started from there. I always wanted to sing clean, but I couldn't find a metal band at the time that wanted a clean singer.
Yeah, there aren't a lot of them.
No. So yeah, I got started around 23, 24.
Gotcha. Well, I mean, obviously, music has been a big part of your life for a while. I
Oh
mean,
yeah, I mean, my mom got me a piano when I was 11, and I got piano lessons. That's kind of how I started. And I've always been the quiet kid that liked music,
hmm
and I just stuck with it, man. I played piano from like 11 to like 16 or 17. Then I got a car, and I was like, screw this. And then I got another piano again at 19 or 20. I got married really young. I got married at 19, and
hmm
just played a lot of piano, and just always had the aspiration to be in a band, and so that's kind of how I did it.
That's cool, man. Well, I mean, you really made it happen and then some. But who were some of your early influences on? I mean, I know you like a lot of different genres. Especially in like when it comes to like rock and metal and stuff. Was that something you gravitated to early on? And if
Oh
so,
yeah,
who were some of your favorites?
probably number one would be Pantera, Phil
Okay.
Anselmo. That
Yeah.
was like a very early influence. Of course, System of a Down, um,
Yeah.
uh, Soundgarden, Audio Slave,
Yeah.
stuff like that. I was big into grunge, Alice in Chains. Grunge still is my shit. I love
Very.
it.
Yeah. Well, I
So
mean, you're talking about bands with amazing singers, all of them.
yeah,
So that's
exactly.
yeah, that's awesome to hear. So, yeah, so 23 and 24. That's when you started the vocal lessons. You meant specifically,
That's
or
that's when I started singing in bands. But then when I got with Psyaxis, that's when I really started with the vocal lessons.
gotcha.
So that was probably about 2007. So I guess I was 26, 27 when I started with vocal lessons.
Oh, okay. I guess was it Mario Laurenti was your teacher?
Yeah, yep. He's still alive. He's 100 years old.
Oh, God bless him. All
I
right,
started with him when he was like 88.
gotcha.
When
When he was just a kid.
he was just a kid.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow, that's cool. So what was that experience like?
Uh, well, it's funny. I heard about him through a friend of mine. So I called him up. I'm like, hey, I want to take vocal lessons. I was like, how much are the vocal lessons? And he's like, well, you have to just come in and let me hear you. I'm like, well, I'm trying to find out how much it costs. He goes, well, I don't know if I'm going to teach you yet. You got to come audition. So
Hmm.
I actually had to audition to be a student.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. It was an awesome experience. Like I learned so much. he's really transformed my life in so many ways. I consider him like a grandfather at this point.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt.
But yeah, without that, I wouldn't be half the singer I am.
I mean, yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, the fact that you were doing it in your 20s, that's like around the time that I started like taking a few lessons here and there, or at least tried to get, tried to learn a little bit about, the techniques and whatnot. So it's but that's killer. So
I've always been super impressed by your voice.
Oh, thank you, man. Well, that means so much coming from you. I was talking to a mutual buddy of ours, Marco Bojkovic. I've had.
Oh yeah.
I love that kid. He's been on the show a bunch, and it's funny. I was out with Marco one time, and we were sitting down, and you know Marco. He says something just no filter at all. Marco and I were talking, and he was, I forget what it was, but he was mentioning like some of the best singers he's played with and everything, and of course, egomaniac, I thought he was gonna like say something to me. He's like, "Oh, and the best singer I've had is Johnny Ray, easily."
Oh, I love Marco.
But I was sitting there, I was just kind of laughing to myself. I'm like, hey, I can't argue with that. He's awesome. So, no offense taken. Nice. Yeah, no, he's a great guy. I hope he can find his find like a band somewhere, because I feel like that would do him good. I know he does a lot of recording at home, and if that's something he wants to do, but
oh yeah, he definitely wants to be in a band.
Well, I remember years ago he had me over at his house, and I was just kind of showing him how to do Craigslist. So
yeah,
yeah. Hey, every little bit helps, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
No, for sure.
Yeah, he'll find something, dude. He's getting better. He's training with Francesco Pinter, which I don't know if you know who he is, but he and I met on Instagram about 2016. He had seen some of my videos I was posting with Aionios, and he lives in Italy. He lives in I think his town's called Ala, A-L-A.
Okay.
Up in the mountains, and he just randomly messaged me, asked me if I would sing on his EP, and I was like, well, I don't know. Let me hear it. So he sent me his EP, and I was just absolutely blown away. This guy, I played with some awesome guitar players, but this guy, him and one other take the cake, man.
Yeah,
just take the cake. Yeah. He's a freak of nature, dude. There's nothing he cannot do. He went to Berkeley. He actually lived in Boston and went to Berkeley for 18 months. And dude, he's just a beast. And so Marco met him through me, and Marco's been taking lessons from him for a couple of years now. Mm-hmm. And Marco's making some headway, man. I've seen some video the other day that was pretty impressive. Him doing some economy picking.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, I'm glad. I like Marco a lot, and
too.
So yeah, I'm glad he's definitely coming along. Not that he was never good, of course, but I think he's one of those guys where it's like and I've met a lot of guitar players like this, where it's like they're very focused on like hitting all the right notes, and it reminds me of another buddy of mine who was a really good guitar player, but he was always nervous about being on stage and being about. It's like, oh, what if I hit a wrong note or chord? And I remember telling him, like, bro, the people out there, they're not paying as close attention as you think you are. Just remember to look up, enjoy the moment, and kind of loosen up a little bit. And sometimes that can make all the difference in the world in terms of live performance. So it's definitely the technique is definitely not the problem. But yeah, I mean, Marco's definitely come along really well.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely come out of his shell a bit, but let's get back to your career for a little bit, because I know Psyaxis was a band you were in. Was Rick Maz in that band on drums?
Yeah.
I mean, me and him go way back. He's an incredible drummer, really great musician. And now, what were some of the other bands that you've been in over the years? I think I mentioned the Mourning as well, and Aionios.
Well, the Mourning is a current band. It's my prog rock band that I pretty much write. At this point, up until now, I've written pretty much everything. And what I do with that band is I'll sit in my house and write everything and kind of come up with the structures of the songs and everything. And then I give it to other musicians. And for the last album, the album is not quite yet released. It will be released very soon. I gave the guitars to Francesco. I actually flew him here to play in 2000. This was going on a long time now.
So is it mainly, are you doing a lot of like the recording yourself and just getting some guys to do a live band? Is it something like that?
Well, yeah, I had a live band, and coronavirus screwed all that up. And
right.
My drummer, do you know Jason Berlin?
No, I'm not familiar.
His dad is Jeff Berlin, the famous bass player. Played in, if I remember correctly, Yes, and he also played Alan Holdsworth.
Oh man, okay.
Yeah, a crazy he's like peers with Victor Wooten, you know.
Well, there you go. Okay.
Yeah. But that's his son Jason has always been my drummer in the Mourning.
Nice.
And we kind of started the band together, and it started out as just a recording project, and it was just so good that we just turned into a band. But he ended up going to the Army 2 years ago, so that kind of slowed things way down. Gotcha. We had another drummer for a while, but Lauren Whitaker, but he moved to New York. So we've just kind of been stagnant since the beginning of 2020. But the album is in works, and that's coming out soon. But old bands, Psyaxis, that was a great band. Mm-hmm. We're actually working on new stuff now.
Oh, no kidding.
It's been 10 years since we've put anything out, and we actually just started working on a song. We plan on doing an EP together and putting that out probably sometime the end of the year. And then Aionios that was years of my life. Mm-hmm. That was another band where I started it, and it ended due to like kind of worldview differences, I would say.
Some personal issues or just some disagreements and whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah, these things happen. Yeah.
These things happen. Yep. But that was a really cool band. We went during this where gent was really big, and it was a very genty kind of progressive metal band. And we did a lot of really cool stuff, man. That band was awesome. I miss it a lot. But that's been done now since 2016, 6 years ago.
Gotcha.
And then for a short time, I was in this band called A Lucid Interval with Christian Cruz. And George Sikalos, drummer's Chris. I'm drawing a blank on his name. It's just, that was a really cool progressive rock band in the style of like Coheed and Cambria. For me, it was a really cool experiment for me because I was kind of pigeonholed into the whole kind of being like the power metal singer. Mm-hmm. And this was my foray into doing a whole different style of progressive kind of sound, similar to Anthony Green, and from like Seosin and Circus Survive, and then Claudio Sanchez from
that's the guy from Coheed.
Yeah. So I was kind of going for that style, and I think I really I did really well with that. Just kind of putting on a different character and being a different singer. I've always wanted to be that singer that could do anything, and I pretty close to achieve that with that band. That
it's funny. People have certain attitudes toward progressive music, and like the whole thing about being about progressive music is that it encompasses so many different styles. So I'm sure as a vocalist, it's got to be a challenge, no doubt, to do all those different things. But at least that's a good forum to showcase all these different techniques and really kind of show what you can do.
Exactly. That's really important to me. And now that I've done that. I've kind of got a little bit more of a new outlook on things. It's like I had to fan my ego for a while when I was younger, and look what I can do, that sort of thing. But now I'm kind of getting to where I just want to do simplistic stuff that's fun, that has a message. The message is always been my most important thing.
Gotcha. I was going to ask you about that in terms of songwriting. Now I know a lot of these bands you've been in have been, more of the progressive end of things, more of the instrumental thing. Now it sounds like you're maybe looking for something a little more songwriter based, maybe even a little more commercial. Is that?
Yes, yes, precisely.
Okay.
That's what I want to do. I've done really well with everything that I've done, but I've always went for niche stuff.
Yeah.
Stuff that I wanted to listen to, like you said, musician type stuff.
Right.
And now I want to do stuff that appeals to common people that
more of a mainstream sound.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Very cool. I mean, I can definitely appreciate
Three-Headed
that.
Three-Headed Snake is a close thing to that, because Three-Headed Snake is metal, but it's like metal that any metalhead can enjoy. It's not like a specific genre of metal. It's just like straight up metal.
Gotcha. Now, for those listening who might not know Three-Headed Snake, what sort of bands, what would you sort of compare them to? Or like, if you're a fan of like Iron Maiden, for example,
Well, yeah, Iron Maiden would be, musically more, well, the way that the band started, he wanted to be like Deep Purple, Ghost, and I don't know what other one to really describe it. Kind of groovy in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
There's a lot of Judas Priest influence, especially with some of the newer songs. There's a lot of, like, as Sin puts it, speed metal.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of fast stuff, and of course, like, a lot of influence from Ministry. Because he was their guitar player for 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
He's always been big in the industrial scene. So definitely some industrial influence. But yeah, that would be about it.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
That's all. Oh, so I'm trying to. So how many bands would you say that you are currently in right now?
Let me count them.
All the bands.
I think Psyaxis, Escapement, Out of Our Element, which is that one you had mentioned.
Yeah. I want to get into that in just a little bit, but
Three-Headed Snake, The Mourning, and I'm working with some guys in something called Stay Dead, so probably 6.
All right.
6. Oh, and I'm still doing stuff with Francesco, so another album with him, so that would be 7.
I love it.
Yeah.
Dude, that's awesome. You were the hardest working man in show business right now. I love it. So
I kind of got a friend of mine. He's the drummer from The Absence, and the drummer. He's the drummer in Venom Inc. and stuff. His name's Jeremy Kling. He's in a million projects too, a million different bands. He's got Inhuman. What the heck's the name? Inhuman Condition. Necromancing the Stone. He's got like a bunch of bands, and I kind of took a page from his book. I kind of watched him, and because I was with Psyaxis only for like 8 years,
mm-hmm.
and I always watched him. I'm like, man, he's doing all kinds of stuff. That looks like fun. So when Psyaxis went kaput, I just kind of said, I'm not going to be tied down into one band anymore. I'm just going to put a bunch of stuff out there, and if one of them takes off, it takes off,
Nice. My dad has a really good saying when it comes to that. If you want to get something done, ask someone who's busy.
Yeah, there you go. Yep.
So that is killer, man. I'm so glad you have all these different creative outlets. Not to mention you're balancing being a husband and a father on top of that. I mean, being a husband and dad myself, I can appreciate that. Yeah, and a business owner. Yeah, during the day you work. Your family owned a jewelry company.
Yeah, it's called Gold Galore Jewelry Store in Hudson.
That's impressive.
40 years in business almost.
Oh, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, you still got to pay the bills at the end of the day. Am I right?
Got to pay the bills, and one day I hope music can do that for me. But until then, we gotta slave away.
I hear you, brother. I do. But let's talk about Out of Our Element, because I saw this latest video that you put out, and I shared it to a friend of mine she's an R&B singer, and she's a huge Bruno Mars fan. I'm like, check out what my buddy did just here. Like you're gonna flip about that. So you guys did Silk Sonic, Leave the Door Open, which is a great R&B song. Man, Bruno Mars, are you kidding me with that guy? Like, he is a generational talent, is he not?
Oh my God, like, unbelievable.
He's so good.
Yeah. Yeah, it was one of those things like when I finished my R&B course.
Mm-hmm.
This is when I grew up. I listened to a lot of R&B. You know,
Nice.
I mean, I was listening to Mary J. Blige when I was like 10, and I love that shit, dude. Like, it just got
Nice.
my body moving, you know.
Yeah.
And so taking that R&B course really took me back to that time when I listened to a lot of that type of stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I'm at the end of the course, I was singing pretty authentically R&B, and I never was able to do that before. I never put that much effort into it, you know. But I had to get A's in that class, you know. So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
put a
Well, I
lot
mean,
of effort into it.
because obviously you've been in rock bands for years, but that wasn't something you really actively did as much.
Exactly, exactly. And so my teacher, I took really good to her. Her name was Darcel. She was an amazing teacher. And so, I was talking to a buddy of mine, Eric Trujillo, who is an amazing vocalist in Tampa Bay area. He sings in a cover band called Nation. If you ever get a chance to see them, dude,
I,
he's
I I've
fantastic.
I've heard his name before. I've never met him, but yeah, I'll definitely have to check them out.
He's only on Instagram now. You can find him on there, but he jumped off of Facebook because of all the BS. But he's an amazing vocalist, and he's also a metal guy, right? And I was like, dude, what if you and I did "Leave the Door Open" by Silk Sonic? I was like, because two metal guys doing R&B would be epic, and if we pulled it off good, that would be even more epic. And so
And you guys did it straight too. Like you weren't like goofing on it. You weren't like doing screams in the middle of it. You covered it straight ahead.
yep, exactly. And then so to be super ironic, we did a video at my buddy's mansion, and we did up the metal thing visually, but audio we did straight R&B.
Yeah, yeah. Like you had some kids in there with the corpse paint and all that. It was funny, but musically it was just straight ahead cover, and I loved it.
Right on. Yeah, that's exactly what we were going for. And plus, like, you hear like people, dogging on metal people like they are one-trick ponies. I never like to be seen as the one-trick pony, so it always motivates me to do things, like sing, like Claudio Sanchez, or to do some like R&B, So that's what kind of fueled it, and we did it, and it's actually doing pretty good now. We've been working hard to get the views over 1,000 on YouTube because we understand that the algorithm picks it up, and it's over that now. I think it's like at 13 or 1,400. I'm hoping some like channel picks it up and blows it up for us, But yeah, it was a lot of fun. We had a lot of cool people in the video with us, and definitely check it out if you like that type of
Cool.
music.
Yeah, no, I'll definitely be putting up some links in the description once we post it. But yeah, man, you've got a lot of stuff going on right now. I know. Before we close up, I do want to ask you this because we kind of touched on it briefly. You mentioned that early on that you had sang in like some death metal bands as well and done some screaming.
Yes.
Being a classically trained guy, what is sort of your stance on a lot of the metal bands that have the screaming vocals? Are you a fan of that style or not? Or is that something you enjoyed doing back then? Or what are some of your thoughts to it? Because I'd be very curious to hear your take on it.
I like some bands that have screams.
Hmm.
I like the ones that try to stand out from the crowd because take somebody that doesn't listen to metal, and you give them 5 different bands and the 5 different singers all sound the same.
Yeah.
So I like bands in which they stand out. Like I'm a big fan of Entheos, which has Cheney Crab as the vocalist. She's an amazing. She does only screams, but she's really amazing at it, and she stands out, and she's diverse and dynamic. So I'm like a big fan of that band. Plus, I like the techie stuff. You know, take like Spirit Box, who had the chick from I Wrestled a Bear Once. She's the vocalist for that band, and she does screams and singing, and she blows it away. So yeah, definitely I like screams as long as it's not the cookie cutter same old thing, you know.
Right. Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, it's at the end of the day, it's just another vocal technique. You know what I mean?
Yep. I have a lot of respect for screaming vocalists. It's not easy. It takes a lot out of you. You have not just anybody can scream. There's this like misconception that just anybody can scream. Mm-hmm. And actually, I think it was Jared Gines did this video where he went to like just random people and was like, here, scream that, scream. Mm-hmm. And like nobody could do a death metal scream, you know. Nobody could just do it, you know. You have to learn how to do it. There's a certain technique to do it to not hurt yourself, you know. So I have a lot of respect for vocalists like that.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard about, you know, like vocal like classes, like the Zen of Screaming. Melissa, what's her name?
Melissa Cross, yeah.
Yeah, she did that a couple years ago. So I remember.
Yeah, I did that back when I first started. I went through, you know, I got the DVD and followed those techniques. That got me started for sure.
It's very interesting, and a lot of those guys who do that end up being very good singers as well. Like I think of like Corey Taylor and you know, Jesse Leach, Howard Jones, you know, guys like that who end up being very good singers. And like Soilwork is a band that I've really gotten into over the years.
Mm-hmm. Randy Blythe did that too.
Yeah. He's been branching out as well. But this is awesome, man. I really appreciate you having coming on my show and being able to shoot the breeze with you after all these years. It's
man, this was fun.
For sure, man. I'm glad we got to do this. I know we've kept in touch over the years through social media, but it's always good to catch up. Where are some of the places that folks can find you and all your various projects online?
Okay, so the Mourning, that would be Mourning, like you're in mourning. We're on all streaming platforms. We're on Bandcamp. Three-Headed Snake, the number three-headed snake, 3 words, or I guess 1 number and 2 words.
Right.
That's all on all streaming platforms. We have several videos on YouTube. If you want to see our Bloodstock footage, you can type Three-Headed Snake Bloodstock, and there's footage pro shot from our Bloodstock show. Escapement. That's one I didn't mention to you before we go.
Oh, yeah. We can get into it.
It's a pretty cool story. I went on the 70,000 Tons of Metal cruise as a stage guy. And I wanted to have that experience of, you know, lugging around all that heavy shit. So
have you done stagehand work before?
Never.
Oh,
never.
Okay.
So it was my first foray into stage work. And so my buddy Andrew Stout, I don't know if you know him, he's also friends with Marco. He was in the Mourning with me for a while. He always asked me to go, and finally I was like, okay, fine, I'll go. So he and I shared a cabin, and we busted our asses as stage crew. And while I was on there, I was walking somewhere, and I bumped into a friend talking to a guy, and I just kind of like interjected myself into the situation there and started listening and talking, and we started getting to talking. Me and this guy, his name's Alex Nasla. He's actually from Gear Gods, and he's the keyboardist in Witherfall. And so we started talking, and we ended up becoming friends. And during the shutdown, I wrote 3 songs, and I sent them to him like, hey, dude, what do you think about, because he's a killer keyboard player. It's like, what do you think about, you know, playing some keys and writing some stuff? He's like, yeah, sure. So I wrote a few songs and sent them to him, and he put keys to them. And we released one, it's called Feed. And you can find that on YouTube, and you can find it on Spotify and all that. We have one song up called Feed, and the band again is Escapement. And he came to Florida, and we shot a music video. Got some of the guys from the Mourning to play in the music video. and my buddy Chris Massey played guitar. And it's a killer song. It's about, it's about how the media feeds us BS and lies constantly.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, it's a killer song. You should check it out. That's on all streaming platforms, and we have a video up on YouTube you can check out.
Gotcha. Will do. Last question before we go. I know you're also a very good guitar player and keyboard player as well. Do you enjoy doing those while singing, or can you do both at the same time?
So in Aionios, I played guitar and sang at the same time for a while, and then we ended up getting another guitar player, and I put that down and was just front man. And in the Mourning, I do play keyboard and sing at the same time.
Nice.
So yeah, I've done all three. Just,
very cool.
No instrument with keyboard and with guitar.
Gotcha. Very cool, man. Well, anyways, Johnny Ray, thank you so much for being on, man.
My pleasure. It was fun.
Really great to catch up, and continued success to you. And hopefully one of my bands will get to play with one of yours in the future. You never know.
That would be awesome. Let's do it.
That would be cool. Thanks once again to Johnny Ray, who is in the bands Three-Headed Snake, The Mourning, Escapement, as well as Out of Our Element, which I have links to all those bands and projects here in the description. And of course, he was in Aionios and Psyaxis before that, and many others. Just an incredible vocalist, great guy. Really interesting story how he's managed to balance all of it. I definitely appreciate what he does and all the work he puts in, and that definitely motivates me to do more work myself. So he's definitely an inspiration. So I want to thank him for being on the show. As far as upcoming events, Vertebreaker did have a show scheduled in February 19th. Unfortunately, that has been canceled. So, we were supposed to play Winfields in Satellite Beach with the Fifth, I believe was a national touring band. Unfortunately, that show is no longer happening. But we will be doing Live at Willie's House, which is a great web show on Facebook. It's shot in Orlando, but it's live on the web on Facebook, facebook.com/live at Willie's House. They have a lot of great guests, and we're excited to be doing that. That's going to be on Tuesday, February 22nd at 8 p.m. Eastern. So, make sure you check out the links for that, and hope especially if you've never seen us live before, this is a good chance to see us and to see what Vertebreaker is all about. So I always appreciate you guys tuning in. And then we do have another show on Saturday, March 19th at Orlando Brewing here in Orlando, and we will be there along with Mature Musical Pictures and Datura, and we might be adding another band on top of that as well. We're not totally sure yet. We're still working on that, but at the very least, I know those three bands will be part of it, so definitely check us out for that. And that is it for this episode of the Phoenix Report. Thank you, as always, for tuning in. Make sure you follow me on Twitter and Instagram at JackXConnor. You can like me on Facebook at facebook.com/JackConnorMusic. Feel free to check out the band, Vertebreaker, at facebook.com/VertebreakerBand, on Twitter at VertebreakerFL, and on Instagram at Vertebreaker. If you have any questions or comments or suggestions, make sure you leave a comment here on YouTube, or you can email me at jackconnorpodcast@gmail.com. You could tweet it with the hashtag Phoenix Report. And if you're listening to this, however you're listening to this, make sure you subscribe, hit like, hit notification bell, whatever you need to do. Leave a comment, go back and listen to the other episodes. I always appreciate you guys tuning in each and every time I post one of these. So thank you guys as always for tuning in. This is the Phoenix Report. I'll see you guys later.